Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you're probably wondering to yourself, where the heck is he? Well, the heck that I am in is Northern California in the United States. I'm here in my mother's house, and I'm actually in my old room in my mother's house. And because I'm here in my old room, I don't have my normal accoutrement. I don't have all of my decks. I did bring some decks with me, and I'm going to use those decks as frequently as I can, and I'm going to continue creating videos as frequently as I can here in my mom's place, because I'm going to be here for a little while. But let me tell you what this is all about. I've decided to do a mini-series within my deep dive year with the Thoth system. And this mini-series I've decided to title Back to Basics. I'm going to go back to the basics and really pare down the spread that I am working on for this next period of time while I'm here in Northern California, and maybe a little bit longer when I return to Korea. We'll see how that goes. So, I am going to trim it down. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to do a very small spread. At least for me, a very small spread. You might be surprised. And before I describe what that spread is, let me just show it to you. So friends, here is the spread for this week and probably for the rest of this Back to Basics series. Here it is. You just saw that we had 5 cards. 3 from the tarot deck and 2 from an oracle deck. And I'm doing basically what many of us would think of as a standard 3-card spread. It's a positional spread. Now, so the first card is going to be the energy. And that is the energy that is in response to the question that I'm going to continue asking every time I lay a spread for this Back to Basics series, mini-series, which is, how can we live more intentionally in the coming span of time? And again, I don't know what that span of time is going to be while I'm doing this series. It's going to be hopefully more than once a week. So the next few days, perhaps. So that is the energy for the next few days. And then the next card is the challenge. Now, challenge can be either positive or negative, especially in this spread. A positive challenge, what is that? It's something we could strive for, that we could aim for, that we can try to attain. Now, it could also be a negative challenge, something that is an obstacle, which I think a lot of people would think of when they think of a challenge. Oh, this is challenging. But it could also be, again, a positive challenge. I challenge myself to do this, right? And then the third card is the advice for the rest of the spread. And then there are 2 oracle cards below. And those 2 oracle cards read together will either be additional advice. Now you may be wondering, we already have an advice card. Why do we want oracle cards? Well, you know me, I like oracle cards. And I particularly like this deck working with the Thoth system. I like this deck, which is a zodiacal and astrological deck. And I also like the I Ching decks because Crowley also associated the tarot with the I Ching, especially the court cards. So I like those 2 decks, and for this Back to Basics mini-series, I decided to use the astrological oracle. Does that make sense? So those 2 cards will give us either additional advice, or it could be a restatement of the entire spread. We'll see how it turns out. We'll see how it turns out this time. So friends, here we go. What am I going to do? I'm going to show you the 3 tarot cards first. We'll read those together. And then we'll go in and look at the 2 oracle cards. And then we'll be done. Okay, friends? So here we go. Here are the 3 tarot cards once again. You just saw from left to right, we had the Adjustment card, the 4 of Swords card, and the Prince of Cups, right? And this is all really interesting. Again, energy, challenge, advice. So the energy, what is the energy for us in this coming few days? The energy that we want to, or that we have the opportunity to take advantage of, is adjustment. Now let's look at the card from this deck. This is the Surfer's Paradise Tarot, which is gorgeous. It's a true Thoth-based tarot deck in my book, but it is a clear redrawing, a new drawing, a new envisioning of the concepts that were drawn out by Alister Crowley and put into form by Lady Frieda Harris. But this is a different form, and it's a beautiful form. It's an interesting form. Now, if you recall the adjustment card for the Harris-Crowley deck, what you saw is a very Art Deco style of Egyptian goddess, you might say. And that goddess is holding a sword pointing down, but her feet are, how do I want to say this? She's standing on the sword in a very special way. Yeah, the soles of her feet are, my hands don't bend that way, but are together like this, right? And the sword is between those 2 feet. Do you recall that image? Yeah, she's standing there holding the sword, and her feet are together, holding onto the blade of the sword. A very painful looking position, if you ask me. So that's the sense of absolute balance, being on a very, very sharp point. She's holding onto and standing on the blade of a vertical pointing sword. So here we have a much more natural looking sense of being on point. Here we have Harlequin standing on point in the ballet sense of being on point. Do you see that? It's a gorgeous card. And the adjustment in the Thoth system is associated with Libra, which is the domicile of Venus, from which cardinal air's vital attributes enter our reading, enter our world, enter our natal charts, and answer the question that we're asking. What is the energy for this coming week if we want to live more intentionally? So cardinal air, just in case you are new to astrology with tarot, now we have 12 signs, hopefully you know that, and there are 4 elements associated to those 12 signs. Now, air, water, fire, earth. Not in that order. Usually it's fire, earth, water, air. No, it's fire, earth, air, water. That's moving from Aries around the wheel of the zodiac. Now, for each one of those elements, there are 3 aspects. There is the cardinal aspect, the fixed aspect, and the mutable aspect. The fixed aspect, let's start off with cardinal. The cardinal aspect is like Aries. It's the one jumping out of the gate, beginning the series of that element. It's moving forward, moving in a cardinal direction. The fixed is the I've got it, I've got this part of the element. Yeah, it's stable, it's fixed, and sometimes stubborn. And then the mutable aspect is that, so I've done all this, it's all great, it's all wonderful, let's clean up the mess and let's move on to the next thing. Right? So we have, for the air, we'd have cardinal air, which is Libra. We'd have fixed air, which is Aquarius, and then we'd have mutable air, which is Gemini. Got it? Probably. And then we'd have the same pairing of 3 for fire, for water, and for earth. So we have here, again, cardinal air's vital attributes. Now, this card is also associated with a Sephira on the Tree of Life. There are 10 Sephira, just in case you don't know what that means. I've got a video about a Tree of Life spread in which I discuss the Tree of Life. And I'll put a card up here. I hope I'll put a card up here so that you can hop on over and take a look at that if you want to know what the Tree of Life is and maybe how we can relate it to the Tarot. So there's the Tree of Life. There are 10 circles, Sephira, on the Tree of Life, and one of those, 2 of them are linked together with this card. Now there are pathways between the Sephira, and this card links the Sephira of Gebra and Tippereth. And Gebra is the Sephira. Gebra is the Sephira. Gebra is the Sephira, is the circle for severity, which is perfect for this card because in other systems, the adjustment card is called justice, severity, the severity of justice. But the justice card, the adjustment card, links Gebra, severity, with Tiphereth, which is the heart of the tree of life. It's also where beauty resides on the tree. And why do I say heart? I call it the heart because it's the one Sephira that connects with all of the other Sephirot on the tree of life. There's a path from Tiphereth to every other one of the Sephira. And you can't say that for all of the other Sephira. So it's the heart, it's the place of beauty. So in this card, we connect the heart, we connect beauty and severity to form justice, or here, adjustment. And it's a beautiful idea, isn't it? Now, another thing it's associated with is a Hebrew letter, right? And the Hebrew letter for adjustment is Lamed, and it kind of looks like a stick with a hook at the top, and it's a symbol for an ox goad. Yeah, the kind of stick that people would use to goad their oxen, to make the ox go the way they want the ox to go, to goad the ox. It's also a symbol of teaching and learning. Like you would teach an ox. You would teach an ox to move in the direction you want the ox to move in. It's teaching and learning also for pupils. You could teach a pupil with that same stick if you wanted to. Right? So, Lamed, teaching, learning, but also an ox goad. And because it's the Hebrew letter Lamed, I also like to associate the runes. Now, the Elder Futhark with the cards. So the rune that is associated with Lamed is Jera. And Jera looks like a greater than and less than symbol linked like this. It might be backwards for you, I'm not sure. But linked like this, similarly. And the sound is similar to what it symbolizes. Jera, 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 year. It's a year, it's a cycle. So Jera is the rune for cycles, for the cycle of the harvest, for example, of the cycle of rewards, the cycle of life. Also the harmony of cycles, yeah? Cycles that balance, that turn. Yeah, there's planting, there's growth, there's harvest, there's returning to the soil and then more planting. That harmony of cycles is associated with Jera as well. So we have all of those things pointing towards the answer of what is the energy for this coming few days, which is adjustment, yeah? Connecting severity with our heart, so it's justice with heart. Also, teaching and learning, something that is very good for cardinal air. And the harmony, the balance of cycles and of harvests and rewards as well. And that's perfect for this card because Crowley points to many things with the adjustment card. One of them being, every energy must be applied with integrity. We want to have integrity when we use our energy. Why? Well, because just like this beautiful harlequin holding the scales of justice and the sword, it's a dance of action and reaction across a system of interwoven patterns. You can see a representation of interwoven patterns here with the two sets of checkerboard patterns merging together. And that's to remind us that everything is a tapestry. And every action that we perform will have an effect perhaps more clearly on one thread of the tapestry, but that thread of the tapestry is not isolated, right? That thread of the tapestry is connected to almost all of the other threads, and if something that acts on that one thread has a ripple effect around all of the other threads. So we want to have great integrity whenever we act, because we don't know how far and where those reactions will go. We can't know, right? We also want to measure ourselves against what we have decided to accomplish. What does that mean? Are we up to the task that we have put in front of ourselves? Sorry, the light is right in my eyes. Are we up to the task that we have put up for ourselves? Are we overreaching? Are we underreaching? Is the goal that we've set for ourselves, is the action that we want to do beneath our capabilities? Could we do more? Could we accomplish more? Are we overshooting our capabilities at this moment? And that's not a bad thing, but we want to adjust what we are doing and put in alignment what we want to do and what we can do, right? We want to measure ourselves and our capabilities against what we've decided to do. And sometimes it's okay to not want to do great tasks or want to use all of our capabilities and capacities. Sometimes it's okay to do something simple and easy. That's fine, but not all the time. Sometimes we want to stretch ourselves for our own growth, but we want to match ourselves to it, right? We also want to calibrate our perceptions and reality. Why? Because we are human beings. We are eternal beings having a human experience. Are you on board with that? I certainly hope you are. And as such, the mind that is active within these human bodies is limited. There is a limit to the amount of information we can process. There's a limit to the amount of information we can gather. We think we see reality, but we only see an aspect of reality. We cannot see the fullness of reality because our eyes are limited. Our sensory organs are limited. Our ears are limited. A dog can hear much more and much more clearly and much farther than we can. And even a dog's senses are limited. So there is no way that we can experience fully the fullness of reality in these wonderful, beautiful, co-creating human bodies that we are interacting with. However, I hope and I believe that the eternal nature that I am, that was here before I began co-creating this human body, that was there before you started co-creating your beautiful human body, those eternal natures that we are, do have a full understanding and an ability to completely perceive and have accurate perception of what actually is. But we in these bodies cannot. And so we want to calibrate our perception with as much of reality as we are capable of perceiving, because we don't always perceive as clearly as we possibly can. Now, our perceptions are biased. I think it's cold today. The same temperature, I might be fine tomorrow. Who knows? But even those perceptions are incorrect. They're an illusion. Because what I'm perceiving as cold, compared to 0.0 degrees Celsius, out in the middle of the galaxy, beyond our solar system, that is cold. This, in comparison, is relatively hot. And on the other hand, in the middle of summer, I might be saying, oh God, it's so hot, but that is a falsity. That is not reality. Consider me feeling hot here on this planet and me trying to enter the core of the sun, where it actually is perhaps hot. And maybe not absolute heat, maybe not the hottest possible, but it is hot, and it is much hotter than it is here. So which is hot? Which perception is correct? It's all illusion, right? So we have to measure our perception, sorry, my leg is cramping up, measure our perception against what we are perceiving now against what we can perceive, which is closer to the truth. And how can we do that? Well, Crowley gives us a couple of pointers. One of them is to balance each thought against its opposite. So I think it's hot. What if it's cold? I balance those two together, and perhaps I even marry them together. My perception of hot, which is actually cold, I merge them together and I annihilate the illusion of perception. That there is no hotness and coldness here. Those are merely perceptions. Can you understand that? I hope you can. That doesn't mean that my perception is invalid. It's just not the truth. There's a difference between the actual truth, the reality, and my perception of reality. And my perception of reality is what I want to work with here. But I also want to recognize that there are sometimes that my perception of reality is much more distorted than it could possibly be. Yeah? And so those are things we want to keep in mind as we move through these next few days. That is the energy. We want to find a way to align ourselves with the actions we are taking, recognizing that every action has a reaction, which is karma. The truth of karma. The truth of karma, tangent, the truth of karma is not you're going to get it because you did bad stuff. That's not karma. I mean, karma could include some of that. Some of that you might have an unsatisfying experience because of some negative actions that we have done. But that's not really what karma is. As I understand it, the reality of karma is that every action we perform has a coordinating reaction. So I push something and it either pushes back or it moves in another direction. In that direction, it moves away. But my action creates a reaction. That is karma. And remember that I push against one thread of the tapestry. It not only affects that one thread, it affects all of the other threads around it. And I cannot possibly know all of the consequences of every thread that I push. So I want to push with integrity. I want to use my energy, my actions with integrity. I want to recognize that my perceptions are not necessarily the truth, and I want to clear as much of the illusion as I can. I want to also make sure that my perception and reality are in as much alignment as I can possibly achieve in this human experience. Those are the things that will be beneficial for us in this next few days. And we've this beautiful, beautiful Harlequin on point here is ballet's point, yeah? With the dove of Venus there. Do you see the dove? Where's the dove? The dove is up here, is a reminder that Venus is the planet which is domiciled in Libra. Lovely card. So we want to bring beauty into all of this as well. Bring beauty into our balance. And this next card is going to emphasize that. That is the challenge. And I see this card as a very positive challenge. This is the Four of Swords, which is titled Truce. And I don't know if you can see it, but this card is associated with Jupiter in Libra. And people who have the planet Jupiter in the house of Libra are people of love, in a sense. Yeah, they love people, they love beauty, and they love justice. And they love justice, which spurs growth. Justice can be a cutting off, but it can also be something that spurs growth and evolution. And that's the kind of justice that Jupiter people in Libra enjoy. Because Jupiter is expansive. It's good luck, but it's also expansion and growth. So we bring that into Libra. Now, according to Crowley, the Four of Swords, the Truce card, is force held at abeyance. We don't want to force things. We don't want to push hard and I'm going to make this happen, forcing things, right? We're called to recognize our thoughts and stop decision making. This isn't the time to make decisions, but rather to perceive what it is that what is it that I am thinking about? Where is my mind going? Now, we want to return to our base, to our first principles. Why am I doing this? What am I doing? What am I thinking about? What is my purpose here? What is my reason for my actions and for my thoughts? And we want to take a position of strength and owning that which is ours to own. I want to own my, as they say, my proverbial crap. Own your crap. Own what you have, who you are. And that is your power place of strength. And it's also your base point, your first principle. Own your crap. Accept who you are. And don't push things, don't force things. Now, the creator of this deck, the Surfer's Paradise, adds things like the law of reason and the authority to enforce it. Now, we can think clearly. We can use our reason, and we have the power to enforce those things that we have. But we, again, enforcing and using force are very different. We don't want to force it. We want to enforce. We want to stand up for what we think is right without forcing that rightness upon the world, which would bring us out of balance, right? And you see how this beautiful blue rose here is resting on these 4 swords? Do those 4 swords look stable or not? They look kind of stable to me. They look like the legs of a table. There's a stability there. There's a solidity there as well. But that perceived stability and solidity may not be as strong as it appears. Maybe these swords could get knocked out if we're not careful. Go out of balance. So the balance is not as stable. It's a little bit more precarious than it may appear. So we want to be sure. And again, not force it. We want to use our energy with integrity. Does that make sense? That's the challenge moving forward from the adjustment card. And so what is the advice? The advice is this beautiful, beautiful Prince of Cups card. You see the prince there? Do you see I don't know, does it look like a seagull to you? I hope it's an eagle and not a seagull. Why? Because this card is associated with, or the Prince of Cups is associated with Scorpio, which is the domicile of Mars, from which fixed water's vital attributes enter our reading, enter our natal charts. So we went from cardinal air with adjustment here to fixed water. And Scorpio has 4 symbols. One of them you probably already know, and I don't know if you can see it here, but do you see that kind of dark aqua or green-blue scorpion there, kind of wound around? Can you see that? That's the most common symbol for Scorpio, right, is the scorpion. The next symbol, and I don't see it here, is the snake. That's the next evolution of Scorpio, the snake, which moves forward, but in a soft way, in an undulating way, not in a direct line, but moving in the general direction of that they want to go in. The third evolution is the eagle, which is why I hope that this is an eagle up there, though it looks like a seagull to me. But the eagle, able to fly up above and have a broad perspective. The fourth symbol is the phoenix. The phoenix, death and rebirth, right? The death in the ashes and rebirth. Why is that a symbol for the Scorpio? Well, Scorpio people are really interested in death. Not in so much the death and decomposition of things, but rather death which leads to rebirth and to transformation and to the restarting of a cycle. And that mystical fascination that Scorpios have with that. So we have that possibility. Now, Crowley associates all of the court cards. There are 4 courtly figures for each of the 4 suits. And in the Thoth system, just in case you don't know, those 4 cards, those 4 court people are the princess, the prince, the queen, and the knight. Princesses are earth, princes are air, queens are water, and knights are fire. So the Prince of Cups is air of water. So we have that idea of air and water mixing together here. Crowley also associates the court cards with I Ching hexagrams. And The hexagram for the Prince of Cups is 61, which is Kung Fu. And the meaning of 61, hexagram 61, is hexagram. Yes, hexagram 61 is the importance of honesty and truthfulness, also cultivating harmonious and stable environments, which is perfect for a Scorpion because a Scorpio likes to have stability, a fixed sign. They like truth. They're piercing pursuers of truth, as well as transformation and death and the mystical. And they really hold honesty in high value. In a somewhat, sometimes frightening way. What else do we have here? According to Crowley, the Prince of Cups is the Prince of silent patience. It can also be the Prince of sudden attacks, of sudden movement and sharp attacks, like a Scorpion. Yeah? Have you ever seen a Scorpion get ready? A Scorpion will stand like ice, absolutely still, focused, and immobile until the time is precisely right, and then, boom! Faster than you can see, that tail darts out and stabs and comes right back. Yeah? So, sharp attacks are possible. We don't want that. Sudden movements are not good for us right now. However, silent patience is good for us now. That's the advice, I think. Now, Scorpios can be self-serving and they can be ambitious, which is, not great, not horrible, but I don't think is helpful for us right now. They can also be imaginative and innovative, which is wonderful. And they cannot give a flying F about what other people think. Yeah, they will create something new. They will innovate. And that innovation, you like it, you don't like it, I don't care. This is my thing, and this is wonderful. This is perfect. My innovation is perfection. So, those are attributes I think that will help us right now. Not giving a flying F about what other people think about what we're doing. As long as we're not attacking people and we're not upsetting the balance, we're being clear, we're being patient, and we're owning our own stuff. Yeah? And being imaginative and innovative. Now, the creator of this particular deck, the Surfer's Paradise, also emphasizes elasticity and ability. We want to be careful of our volatile potential. We don't want to blow up, but we want to be flexible and adaptable. We want to recognize hydrostatic equilibrium. Now, hydrostatic, that the stable water, when fluid is stable, like fixed water is the Scorpion, or Scorpio, I mean, equilibrium, which gives weight and power. Yeah? It gives energy and power. And we also have the energy and power of steam. Air through water, that steam engine. We have power here. And we also have the power of the knowledge of no thing. What does that mean? Not nothing. I know nothing, but I know no thing. That all things are illusion. Every object that I perceive is in its essence an illusion. I know no thing. That the truth is the no thingness of that thing. Because everything is in essence energy vibrating at such a speed that it seems fixed. So I know the no thingness of things. That's one of my powers. Does that make sense? So that is what we want for these next few days. We want to have the energy of adjustment, of dynamic balance. And recognizing that we benefit from aligning our perception with reality. We don't want to act with force. We want to act with integrity. We want to know our power. We want to be silent. Our advice is to be patient and still not give a frig what other people think. Have our own imaginative selves, our own innovative selves activated. And be adaptable. Be like water. knowing the power that we have within. And the challenge is to not force things, to find our truth, our why, you might say, with the Four of Swords. And recognizing that even though we find our place of stability, it may not be as stable as we perceive it to be. So, integrity, balance, right? Now we've got two oracle cards, which will either give us more advice or recapitulate this reading. So let's see how those go. Let's take a look at those two oracle cards right now. The two cards from left to right were this card, which is egotism, and it's Mars in Leo. Now you see on this card, we have a half cockerel, half man. Now cockerel, it's a 1-year-old male chicken. Yeah. So half of it is that the young, powerful, vibrant rooster, cockerel, and the man with the head of a man, which stands proudly. And above it, we have Leo's sun, a bright, shining, powerful, fixed fire sun. And we have the Egyptian scarab, which shows its eminence. Now, because we have here Mars in Leo, we have what? We have the cardinal aspect of fixed fire's vital attributes entering our reading here. So instead of fixed water and cardinal air, here we have the third house of Leo, which Mars is exalted in, I believe. Oh gosh, it's flown out of my head. That's I'm sure it's important. And it's gone out of my head. I'm sorry. But we have an exaltation of Mars here as well. So that would add more depth to the reading. But what does this card represent? Well, according to the guidebook, we feel fulfilled using our energy in expansive, showy, and creative ways like a Leo. Now, we want to use our energy in a kind of way that will expand and attract attention. We want to use our creative talents. We might be interested in competitive sports as well. But we want to do more to earn the respect of others. Now remember, we were just saying don't give a F about what other people think. This seems to counteract that. That on one side, we want to gain respect from others. We want to show off a little bit, which is sometimes fine. But show off in a generous, leonine way. A little bit showy, but very expansive and very creative. And maybe a little bit competitive. The next card here gives us generosity. And here, I don't know if you can see this, but this figure down here at the bottom, this is an enthusiastic speaker addressing a large audience. And above, up here at the top, we have a prophet, which inspires this speaker, which is transmitting what is inspired to the crowd. So generously sharing the gifts that are inspired by the heavenly prophet. And here we have Saturn in Leo. Saturn, the planet of borders and limits and time and rules and regulations in Leo, which is not a really happy pairing. However, in this card, we got some really good stuff here. We've got using tenacity from Saturn and self-discipline which is in a showy, generous way. Now, our tenacity and our self-discipline can inspire so showy generosity. We have the discipline to be generous in a big way, I think is the way to take that. And still we have the desire for respect and admiration from other people. Remember, we wanted to earn their respect in this card. Here, we still have that desire for respect and admiration. And there's a lot of creative joy to share. Leos are creative and joyful. We have a lot of that to share. And so for our success, we want to offer it with no strings attached. So maybe that's where that Prince of Cups, not caring what other people think, can come into play here. We share, we give without being attached to the outcomes. And if we can do that, then we can get the respect and even admiration that we want from others at this time. Now, so the path forward, I think this is advice rather than a recapitulation of this week's spread, is to be showy, to be expansive, to be creative and show that creativity off and offer that creativity to others without expecting them to respond. And if we can do that, then they will respond. Then we will get that respect and admiration that we want. That will feed us. That will feed us to perhaps do more, to be more creative, to be more generous, and do that in a self-disciplined way, with tenacity. I am going to do this, and I'm not going to care about the response that I want. And if I don't care about the response that I want, I'm going to get the response that I want without making them like me, I'm going to make you respect me. I'm going to make you like me. Let that go, and they will. We'll get the respect that we crave. So that, I think, is an addition to the advice of the Prince of Cups, right? So friends, what do you think? Does this kind of series interest you? Let me know in the comments below. Does it not interest you? Let me know in the comments below. Is there some information that you would like added to this series? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. So friends, here we are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this video tomorrow and upload it. And so it'll be there for you. And then I'll start working on the next cycle of laying cards and looking at them and thinking about them and pondering them and writing notes about them. Then the next day I'll film the video and then I'll upload it again. We'll see how this goes. Okay, friends, so here we are. The end of the first episode of my Back to Basics mini-series. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.